Good morning, students. Welcome to class 2. In today's lecture, we are going to see 12 principles of green chemistry in detail. So let's get started. First principle states that it is better to prevent waste than to treat or clean up waste after it is formed. That is, prevention of waste or byproducts. Students, it is most advantageous to carry out a synthesis in such a way so that formation of waste, that is byproduct, is minimum or absent. It is especially important because in most of the cases, the cost involved in the treatment and disposal of waste adds to the overall production cost. Even the unreacted starting materials form part of the waste. So, the well-known saying, prevention is better than cure, should be followed. That is, the formation of the waste or byproducts should be avoided as far as possible. The waste or byproduct, if discharged or disposed of in the atmosphere, sea or land, not only cause pollution but also requires expenditure for cleaning up. So we can say it is better to prevent waste than to treat or clean up waste after it is formed. Second principle of green chemistry is synthetic methods should be designed to maximize the incorporation of all the materials used in the process into the final product. That is, maximum incorporation of the reactants, starting materials and reagents into the final product. Students, chemists globally consider that if the yield of a reaction is about 90%, the reaction is good, and the percentage yield is calculated by following formula. Percentage yield is equals to actual yield of the product divided by theoretical yield of the product multiplied by 100. In other words, if 1 mole of a starting material produces 1 mole of the product, the yield is 100%. Such synthesis is deemed perfectly efficient by this calculation. Students, a perfectly efficient synthesis according to the percentage yield calculations may, however, generate significant amount of waste, which is not visible in the above calculation. Such synthesis is not green synthesis. For example, Wittig reaction and Grignard reactions. Both these reactions may proceed with 100% yield, but do not take into account the large amount of byproducts that is obtained. So students, remember, the reaction or the synthesis considered to be green if there is maximum incorporation of the starting materials and reagents in the final product. So over here, percentage atom utilization is taken into account, which is expressed by following equation. Percentage atom utilization is equals to molecular weight of desired product divided by molecular weight of sum of the desired product plus waste product multiplied by 100. The concept of atom economy was developed by B.M. Trost, which is a consideration of how much of the reactants end up in the final product. The same concept was determined by R.A. Sheldon, which is given by following equation. Percentage atom economy is equals to formula weight of atoms utilized divided by formula weight of the reactants used in the reaction multiplied by 100. Now, let us consider some of the common reactions like rearrangement, addition, substitution and elimination to find out which is more atom economical. First reaction is rearrangement reaction. These reactions involve rearrangement of the atoms that make up a molecule. For example, allyl phenyl ether on heating at 200 degrees centigrade gives orthoallyl phenol. This is a 100% atom economical reaction, since all the reactants are incorporated into the product. and no byproduct is formed. Second reaction is addition reactions. Consider the addition of hydrogen to an olefin. When propene is made to react with hydrogen in presence of nickel catalyst, we get the formation of propane. Over here, all elements of the reactants, that is propene and hydrogen, are incorporated in the final product, that is propane. The reaction is 100% atom economical reaction. Similarly, cycloaddition reactions and bromination of olefins are 100% atom economical reactions. Third reaction is substitution reactions. In substitution reactions, one atom or group of atoms is replaced by another atom or group of atoms. The atom or group that is replaced is not utilized in the final product. So, the substitution reaction is less atom economical than rearrangement or addition reactions. Consider the substitution reaction of ethyl propionate with methylamine. When ethyl propionate is made to react with methylamine, we get the formation of propionamide plus ethyl alcohol. In this reaction, the leaving group, that is ethoxy, is not utilized in the formed amide. Also, one hydrogen atom of the amine is not utilized. The remaining atoms of the reactants are incorporated into the final product. The total of atomic weights of the atoms in reactants that are utilized is 87.10 gram per mole, while the total molecular weight including the reagent used is 133.189 gram per mole. Thus, molecular weight of 46.069 gram per mole remains unutilized in the reaction. Therefore, the percentage atom economy is equals to 65.40%. Fourth reaction is elimination reactions. In an elimination reaction, two atoms or group of atoms are lost from the reactant to form a pi bond. For example, consider Hofmann elimination. That is, when trimethyl propyl ammonium hydroxide is heated, we get the formation of propene and trimethyl amine. The elimination reaction is not very atom economical. The percentage atom economy is 35.30%. Third principle of green chemistry is, whenever practicable, synthetic methodologies should be designed to use and generate substances that possesses little or no toxicity to human health and the environment. That is, prevention or minimization of hazardous products. The most important principle of green chemistry is to prevent or at least minimize the formation of hazardous products which may be toxic or environmentally harmful. The effect of hazardous substance, if formed, may be minimized for the workers by the use of protective clothing. Engineering controls, respirator, etc. This, however, adds to the cost of production. It is found that sometimes the controls can fail, and so there is much more risk involved. Green chemistry, in fact, offers a scientific option to deal with such situations. Fourth principle of green chemistry is, chemical products should be designed to preserve efficacy of function while reducing toxicity. That is, designing safer chemicals. It is of paramount importance that the chemicals synthesized or developed, for example, dyes, paints, adhesives, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, etc., should be safe to use. A typical example of an unsafe drug is thalidomide, introduced in 1961 for lessening the effects of nausea and vomiting during pregnancy, morning sickness. The children born to women taking the drug suffered birth defects, including missing or deformed limbs. Subsequently, the use of thalidomide was banned. The drug withdrawn and strict regulations passed for testing of new drugs, particularly for malformation inducing hazards. With the advancement of technology, the designing and production of safer chemicals has become possible. Chemists can now manipulate the molecular structure to achieve this goal. Fifth principle of green chemistry is the use of auxiliary substances, for example solvents, separation agents should be made unnecessary wherever possible and innocuous when used. The solvent selected for a particular reaction should not cause any environmental pollution and health hazard. The use of liquid or supercritical liquid carbon dioxide should be explored. If possible, the reaction should be carried out in aqueous phase or without the use of a solvent, that is, solventless reactions. A better method is to carry out reactions in the solid phase. One major problem with many solvents is that their volatility that may damage human health and the environment. To avoid this, a lot of work has been carried out on the use of immobilized solvents. The immobilized solvents maintains the solvency of the material, but it is non-volatile and does not expose humans or the environment to the hazards of that substance. This can be done by tethering the solid molecule to a solid support or by binding the solvent molecule directly onto the backbone of a polymer. Such new polymer substances having solvent properties that are non-hazardous are also being discovered. Sixth principle of green chemistry is energy requirements should be recognized for their environmental and economic impacts and should be minimized. In any chemical synthesis, the energy requirements should be kept to a minimum. For example, if the starting material and the reagents are soluble in a particular solvent, the reaction mixture has to be heated to reflux for the required time or until the reaction is complete. In such a case, time required for completion should be minimum, so that bare minimum amount of energy is required. Use of a catalyst has the great advantage of lowering the energy requirement of a reaction. In case the reaction is exothermic, sometimes extensive cooling is required. This adds to the overall cost. If the final product is impure, it has to be purified by distillation, recrystallization, or ultrafiltration. All these steps involve the use of energy. By designing the process such that there is no need for separation or purification, the final energy requirements can be kept at the bare minimum. Energy to a reaction can be supplied by photochemical means, microwave or sonication. Seventh principle of green chemistry is a raw material or feedstock should be renewable rather than depleting whenever technically and economically practicable. Starting materials are those obtained from renewable or non-renewable material. Petrochemicals are mostly obtained from petroleum, which is a non-renewable source in the sense that its formation takes millions of years from vegetable and animal remains. The starting materials, which can be obtained from agricultural or biological products, are referred to as renewable starting materials. The main concern about biological or agricultural products, however, is that this cannot be obtained in continuous supply due to factors like crop failure, etc. Substances like carbon dioxide generated from natural sources or synthetic routes and methane gas obtained from natural sources such as marsh gas are available in abundance. These are considered as renewable starting materials. Eighth principle of green chemistry is unnecessary derivatization should be avoided whenever possible. In case an organic molecule contains two reactive groups and you want to use only one of these groups, the other group has to be protected, the desired reaction completed and the protecting group removed. Reactions of this type are common in the synthesis of fine chemicals, pharmaceuticals, pesticides, etc. As shown in the reaction, benzyl chloride, a known hazard, and the waste generated after deprotection should be handled carefully. Another reaction involving protection of a keto function by using 1,2-ethane-diol is as follows. Thus, we see that the protecting groups that are needed to solve a chemoselectivity problem should be added to the reaction in stoichiometric amounts only and removed after the reaction is complete. Since these protecting groups are not incorporated into the final product, their use makes a reaction less atom economical. In other words, the use of protective group should be avoided whenever possible. Though atom economy is a valuable criteria in evaluating a particular synthesis as green, other aspects of efficiency must also be considered. Ninth principle of green chemistry is catalytic reagents are superior to stoichiometric reagents. Students, it is well known that use of a catalyst facilitates transformation without the catalyst being consumed in the reaction and without being incorporated in the final product. Therefore, use of catalyst should be preferred whenever possible. Some of the advantages are better yields, hydrogenation or reduction of olefins in presence of nickel catalyst. The reaction becomes feasible in those cases where no reaction is normally possible. And selectivity enhancement. Well, apart from all the mentioned beneficial uses of catalyst, there is significant advantage in the energy requirement. With advances in the selectivity of catalyst, certain reactions in green synthesis has become very convenient. A special advantage of the use of catalyst is better utilization of starting materials and minimum waste formation. 10th principle of green chemistry is chemical products should be designed so that at the end of their function they do not persist in the environment and break down into innocuous degradation products. The problem of products not being biodegradable is encountered particularly in insecticides and polymers. Consider insecticides. It is well known that farmers use different types of insecticides to protect crops from insects, isn't it? The more widely used insecticides are organophosphates, carbamates, and organochlorides. Of this, organophosphates and carbamates are less persistent in the environment compared to the organochlorides, for example, eldrine, dieldrine, and DDT. Though the latter are definitely effective, but they tend to bioaccumulate in many plants and animal species and incorporate into the food chain. Some of the insecticides are also responsible for the population decline of beneficial insects and animals such as honeybees, mites, etc. So, it is of utmost importance that any product, for example insecticides, synthesized must be biodegradable. It is also equally important that during degradation, the products themselves should not possess any toxic effects or be harmful to human health. It is possible to have a molecule, for example insecticide, which may possess functional groups that facilitate its biodegradation. The functional groups should be susceptible to hydrolysis, photolysis, or other cleavage. 11th principle of green chemistry is analytical methodologies need to be further developed to allow for real-time in-process monitoring and control prior to the formation of hazardous substances. That is, analytical techniques should be so designed that they require minimum usage of chemicals like recycling of some unreacted reagent, chemical for the completion of a particular reaction. Further, placement of accurate sensors to monitor the generation of hazardous byproducts during chemical reaction is also advantageous. 12th principle of green chemistry is substances and the form of a substance used in a chemical process should be chosen so as to minimize the potential for chemical accidents, including releases, explosions, and fires. The importance of prevention of accidents in manufacturing units cannot be overemphasized. A number of accidents have been found to occur in industrial units. The gas tragedy in Bhopal, December 1984, and several other places has resulted not only in loss of thousands of human lives but also rendered many persons disabled for the rest of their lives. The hazards caused by toxicity, explosions, fire, etc. must be looked into, and the manufacturing plant should be so designed to eliminate the possibility of accidents during operation. So students, in our today's lecture, we have discussed all the 12 principles of green chemistry in detail.